What's going on, guys? So my main focus for July was to improve the main player user interface that you see here. My goals were as follows: pick a color palette and theme for the main player UI, as well as for specific categories. So for example, this is like the main UI. You have the blue bar up here for all the categories. Down here is going to be kind of like a wooden panel where all the controls are going to show. And then each of these up here are going to be the individual UI categories that will be available for the demo and then eventually for the full game. Number two is going to be to simplify everything by combining all relevant information into one display. Before this, I had different UI pop up in different ways, but I wanted one central location to house everything. And number three, create a layout and functionality that works with keyboard and mouse as well as controller, which I'll show a little bit later in this video. Right now it's just set for keyboard and mouse. That's why you see only keyboard and mouse controls here on the bottom. So for this devlog, I'm going to go over each of these categories and a little bit of explanation of why I'm doing it this way, as well as how I created this game manual and the functionality for each. Two is going to be show how display controls change based on player input. So it's going to detect whether you use controller or keyboard and mouse, and it's going to display, for example, I'm using keyboard and mouse and it's showing E to speak, and it's going to show, let's say, A for Xbox or whatever the south button is on PlayStation and Switch. Number three is going to be, I'm going to go over the goals for the demo, what I've accomplished so far, and then what I still need to do, including some sound effects for the UI and other tweaks that I want to make before the actual demo is released. And then finally, number four, I want to go over the future UI additions for the actual game that I'm kind of setting myself up for with this layout for the UI. And this allows for eventual expansion pretty easily into having a UI for crafting, maybe like a crafting book, or like for pets, like a pet log or something, pet tracker, something like that. So you always know what recipes you have, what pets you have, skills, proficiencies, all that kind of stuff, which is all possible in this new format. So I'm going to start off by going over each of these UI categories, starting with the game manual. Now this here, big inspiration has come from me playing Super Nintendo and N64 in games, kind of back when internet wasn't too popular and all the information wasn't online. You had like a physical game manual. So what I did here was I made it almost into like a book, as if it was like a physical game manual, and I made functionality where you could change pages. And I used GIMP as my 2D art program. It's almost like a Photoshop for you guys who don't know, GIMP. And what I did was make these kind of infographics and then categorize them into all the features that are going to be available in the demo, from controls to fixing. And then when I highlight over these two, you can kind of skip around rather than just going page by page, which I think is pretty cool. But we have controls for the keyboard and mouse, as well as controller, in case players want to reference back, information about quests and how to use the quest log if you want to pin a quest, which will allow you to track the objectives, which we'll go over in a little bit. And then information about the quest, if the objectives are satisfied or if it's complete. Action bars, how you use your tools, equip items. Inventory is more space. Fixing is one of the main focuses of the game, where you can fix different things and get rewards for them. For example, like one of the first quests is fixing some of the fences around a broken down cottage. Farming, there'll be farming in the demo, and the basics of planting, watering, harvesting, and you'll get these tools throughout the main tutorial quests that you'll come across in the demo. Equipment, there'll be a few pieces of equipment that you can equip and unequip that'll give you bonuses, such as this miner helmet that you'll get when you enter the cave as one of the first quests. It'll add some light when you're progressing through your cave, and backpack to add more inventory slots, and even a belt to add more action bar slots. Some quests will reward gold, which you'll be able to use at this shop stall. So that's basically the game manual. You could sort through it, you can go through it, and it's always available to the player. When they first start the game, there'll be a prompt, learn more about controls, and that'll be the first indication that the player can click whatever the icon is that pops up to open this user interface, and they'll be able to immediately learn about the game and learn as much as they want, or not even look at it and just learn on their own. And that's the goal. So that's the game manual. Really happy with that. Number two, you guys have probably seen this already. This is the inventory. I had to tweak the camera a little bit because it was freezing because I had multiple cameras, one facing the player and one in the actual game. So when the UI is open, now the camera gets disabled and only the player facing camera is enabled. And that's working well so far. You could see it on the character. You could unequip it. And then let's say I unequip the hammer. It's not going to show on the character anymore. Here you can click this. You could switch from inventory to action slot. You can switch from or transfer from action slot to inventory, and it'll say move whatever item to inventory. You could also do it from the action bar in the actual game. Really cool. I just have to add some controller functionality to make this work because it's working well with keyboard and mouse. And I also want to add a drag and drop for keyboard and mouse. So that's the basic inventory and equipment and action bar. And this is your gold. Quests, another thing I worked on, the quest UI. I wanted to make it like almost like a scroll to list all your quests. You have your quests completed. And this is just a test file, so I completed a bunch of quests already, and then these are my active ones. Now within this, you can track quests, which is a feature my cousin suggested, and you can untrack quests. So for example, on the side here, it'll show stone statue as a quest, 3 out of 30 stone gathered. And then if you go here, it'll show you more about that quest, how much you've done so far, and then the rewards. When a quest is complete, it'll still show, but it'll show quest complete. And let's say I want to track both these. I'm going to click on it and then right click, it's going to show to track quest. And now it's being tracked. Now you'll have both objectives on the side. Now, if you don't want them to be tracked, you could just unpin these and then nothing will be on the side of the screen. So that's a really cool feature that I like. It gives player the ability to track a quest or not track a quest. And then when it's complete, it's still going to notify the player, you go get your reward. But it won't do it while the objectives are being achieved. So that's the quest log. Really happy with that. And then this is just the basic achievements, which has some basic achievements that I wanted to make with an icon and description and a name. And for the demo, I probably can have maybe at least 10 achievements. And then once the player achieves them all, they'll get some kind of reward, maybe like a treasure chest or something in the middle of town. Or in the middle of the village, and then probably another reward too if the player completes all the quests in the game. Right now there's no functionality behind it, like coding behind it, so that's why these aren't shown as complete. But this is what I want it to look like here, this green and the check mark with the achievements. So really happy with that. The next thing I want to go into is if I'm going to use a controller. So right now I'm running around and you're going to see different actions. E for inspect. And then let me just equip this hammer real quick. Now it shows fix. And how much wood do I have? I have 6 wood, so this is actually going to work. Now when I go up and I try to fix it, it's going to show red because I don't have enough, and then give you a message that says you don't have enough. And you could also auto-complete the text just like you would in a conversation if you don't want to have it type. Now if I were to switch right now, I'm going to be using a controller. So this is me using a controller. And now it's going to show X to fix because I'm on Xbox. And it's going to show A to inspect. So now I can go ahead and do the same thing with the controller. It's going to show the A to lift. So for the controller now it's going to show, let's say, A to speak, X to fix, A to inspect, and same if you're going to pick up items, A to pick up. Now if I go into the user interface now, what I showed before, it's going to show all things. And you're going to see in the top left and right, you're going to see LB and RB, which are the bumpers. And you can see that you actually didn't see those when I use the keyboard and mouse. So they're going to be enabled. And if you look on the bottom here, last page and next page, you're going to use the left trigger and right trigger to actually scroll through, because obviously you can't hover or click with like you can with the mouse. So this is the functionality, is if you were going to be using a controller. Really cool. And then you could cycle through here. Let's say inventory, and X to move item, B to close. So I didn't add the functionality yet, but I have the actual controls here at the bottom. Here, if you want to tab between tab left, tab right, between active quests and quest completed. And then if you want to, let's say, track a quest, you could press X to track it and untrack, B to close if you want to go back. And for achievements, I didn't change it yet, but these should show nothing, and maybe some functionality if you want to learn more about the achievement. But right now, this really should just be, you could scroll through these and then press close. now I'm going to go back to using a keyboard and mouse, and you can see all the UI changes, and I use a controller again, and it goes back to the controls based on the controller I'm using. So really cool. I could scroll through here with the controller using the D-pad left and right, and I could unequip. And also I made it so you could, spin around, you could look up, and you could look down with the right joystick. And yeah, so I did a lot of other things too. Today I just wanted to focus on talking about the UI. But really happy with the user interface that I made. I'm really happy with the game manual so far. It opens it up for a lot more functionality and things I want to add. And yeah, that's the goal for the demo. Pick the achievements, set rewards for the achievements, make sure all the quests are working, and then add some sound effects too for the UI. So there's some sound when you're exiting UI, just like there's a little zoom sound effect when you zoom in and out, or if you pick up an item, there's some sound effects there. If you fix a fence, you hear that. So the same kind of thing. Now for future UI additions for the actual game, my whole purpose of setting up all these systems is so when I'm ready to add all these other features, the system works well with not only the existing ones that worked with the demo, but it makes it easier to add functionality and user interface for other things. So I mentioned before, but so I'll have like game manual, inventory, quest, achievements, and then there's also other ones included. So I want to have like pets. I want to have, so there's just a list here, but like, so I have the achievements, but eventually like bond, which would be like a social aspect with all the characters, almost like a bond or heart level. Calendar for important dates of festivals. A map, obviously. Perks, almost like a skill system, proficiency. So as you use different tools, for example, the more you fix or build, your carpentry level will go up, or the more you do mining. So the more rocks you destroy with your pickaxe, or the more you mine, the greater your proficiency at mining will go, and then you'll be able to acquire more stone per rock, or better chance at finding gems, things like that. Same thing with wood cutting. All right, so then I got an axe, and so wood cutting is going to be one, carpentry is going to be one, pets, social, and I have other ideas as well, but that's just the basics of what I have right now. But for the demo, these 4 will definitely be here. And that's it for now. This video is, I guess, long enough. But if you guys are going to play the demo, please let me know what controller you might use, or if you're going to use keyboard and mouse, because right now I just have it set up for Xbox, but I could easily set it up too for like a PlayStation controller or a Switch controller, or if there might be another controller I'm not aware of. I'll do some more research, but let me know so I could focus on that for you guys are going to try it out. So happy with everything so far. Thanks for watching, and feel free to comment below.